Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Art of Inspired Selling. My name is Catherine Evans. I'm the host of the live show. Today, I'm bringing to you a very special guest. Her name is Grace Lonnie. We're going to talk about her pivot. We're going to talk about her tenacity and moving forward in what she's done to be successful again and again. And as always, on the Art of Inspired Selling, I bring to you entrepreneurs that have again and again shown success. They're going to give you tips that you can take with you to immediately implement in your day to day so that you're not just surviving in the new normal, but you're actually thriving. And as always, you are welcome to come in on the show on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, and ask any questions that we can answer so that you can take additional information and implement that. So before I bring Grace on, I'm going to go ahead and read her bio. Grace is the branding influencer, speaker, author, and she's a podcast host. I was just on her podcast, so we'll have to talk to her about that. She does an amazing job. She helped me a little bit because, I'm still a little rough around the edges. I'm only like 6 months into this live streaming. So Grace continually stretches the cutting edge of personal and professional branding, delivering keynotes at international events. Originally trained as a bioelectrical engineer, her first CEO venture was an online software solution, one of the only 2 women to be venture funded at multi-million-dollar level in Austin in 2000. Grace was featured in the Austin Business Journal on CBS and won the KPMG Standout Startup Award. Grace is All About That Brand podcast is award-winning, and her most recent book, The No BS Truth, What Really Takes to Build a Successful Business, is an international bestseller. Her next book reveals what's beyond the story brand in 2020. So we're going to get her to reveal a little bit more about herself. But without further ado, I'm going to bring my guest on, Grace. And there you are.
Hi, Catherine. Thanks so much for having me on your show today.
No problem. We got the chat open. So everybody out there, I'm sorry we're just a few minutes late, but you know how we do. We roll here. We make sure to bring more value to you than the time that you had to wait. So we've got the chat open. Ask us any questions. We're here to answer those. And Grace, where are you coming live from today?
I am in Austin, Texas, in my home office. You get to see the behind the scenes today. And Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. Is it hot there? Because this morning I was just telling Grace I was in Salt Lake City.
Thank goodness. Yeah. So we have broken out of the triple digits. And so it's 80 degrees and feels like, I've got a sweater on. Let's just put it that way. Coming from the Northeast, this time of year, this kind of weather, we'd still be wearing t-shirt and shorts. But, things change.
Things change.
It's so awesome.
So how is Austin these days? The South by South. We're totally off topic. But let me just say, how is Austin? Is it still booming? Is it growing? Is tech still moving in there?
So yes, and yes, and yes. Elon Musk is bringing in a huge campus to Austin, Texas. The
Nice.
Google, the Facebook. There are a whole lot of amazing companies moving parts of their campus structure into Austin. I think because Texas is a great place, there's room to expand, and we apparently have done a good job managing the pandemic. I just actually was invited to my very first live speaking event at lunchtime today. So I had a room full. It was sold out. They also have coordinated a Zoom live stream in addition to the people in the room. So people who aren't quite ready to get out in public were able to view the event from home. And it was amazing to be out in front and connect with people and engage. I loved it.
Yeah, I bet it was starting to feel normal again, right? Whatever normal is, just...
Yeah, and there is this kind of outlier talk, Catherine, that I present to people. In addition to the Straight Ahead Branding 101, I also have this talk. It's called The Power of Words.
Ooh.
Uncover the hidden landmines to your success.
All right, so we might get into that today.
All right.
Because you're fresh off the stage, you've got the pump, you've got your mojo going. All right, so now I have to rewind you. So the ticket to get on this show is you have to tell us what drives you. Where's your inspiration? The art of inspired selling. What has inspired you to be an entrepreneur? To get up, to grind it every day. Maybe you don't call it grinding. I do, to just keep going. Again, reinvent yourself, get on stage, push yourself, do it. What do you use? Do you use meditation, mantras, books? What inspires you to do what you do?
So the first time that I was an entrepreneur, I was actually recruited to Austin by a new public company. Mm-hmm. I got here. I thought I was on top of the world. I was VP of professional services and sales. And I just was in heaven in this new city. And my kids were with me. A new single mom situation and landing in this amazing city of high-tech entrepreneurs. I thought I had arrived. 2 months in, Catherine, this company tanked. I went to work and the doors were chained shut. And I had to go upstairs to the CFO of the property and beg her, thank gosh it was a her, to let me in to get my personal computer, my kids' artwork at my desk, just all those things that we like to put around us to make it comfy. And, I had to, it was a tough time. 99, 2000, it was a tough time. And I started calling people and asking what I could do. And 6 months later, I had my first business. I had my first consulting business. So there wasn't anything joyful about the front end of that. However, it's, 20 years later, 21 years later, it's like every day is a new adventure.
It is. And so we have a little bit of similar backgrounds, right? We're both single moms. We both have more of a science and biotech background.
Yeah.
And we both have been a little bit in marketing and sales. So, those are some things that are super interesting to me that we have in common. But when let's just call it out. Let's just call it as a single mom thing. Do you ever find that there's no choice, right? We just do it. Like there's, some people have choices. Oh, do I want to say I'm going to take care of the kids? Or, maybe I just want to work part-time there's like no choice. For me, there's no choice. It's like, I'm going to make it and I have to make it. I have to put the roof over the head. I have to keep the lights on. I have to put the food on. You just have this, it's a different kind of drive maybe for some other people. Do you share that thought? Like there's just no choice for whether or not I'm going to make it.
Ooh. Yeah, I surely was sharing that choice. After that, I can remember calling. So I left a cushy corporate job in California to take this one. And I can remember sitting, I still had a phone that had a tether. I was sitting on the kitchen floor of this new apartment and I'm sobbing on the phone with my friend who was an admin at Cisco. And I'm like, you know what? I'll be a secretary. Just get me anything. Get me out of here. Like, I just don't want to have to create something else. I was terrified.
Exhausted too.
Yeah, exhausted. Yeah. And, when I started to get some success, one of the projects that we put together, we had designed this proposal for a new software product. And the product wasn't on the market. And as I was talking to all my colleagues and friends, all these cool people I'd met here in Austin, they're like, Gracie, this is a deal. Like, people will put money in this. And like, people were writing checks. So we went from this place where nobody could get a job to a place where people were writing me $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 because they believed in the fact that we created a solution for a client who was ready to buy. And that created a whole nother venture batch of crazy, right? So, going from the consultant kind of sales marketing world to venture funded startup. We secured $2 million from a tier one firm.
That's great. That's great. So now, tell me a little bit about what's happened during COVID to your business. I mean, we have this wonderful background of the venture funding and the consulting and doing what's fun and marketing, and it's great. Tell me a little bit about, everybody likes to talk about the good times. Let's talk a little bit about the bad times, and then how you've risen again from that. So let's share that story just a little bit, so that maybe there's somebody out there that's feeling a little bit under the weather. Things aren't going so hot for them. Their unemployment's getting ready to run out. Let's give them some inspiration that things can turn, things can change, and how did you do that?
Yeah. So January, February, March were best months ever for All About That brand, which was awesome.
So tell me, what did All About That brand do? We have the word brand in there. Tell me who is your target market? What were you doing? How were you generating revenue? What did that look like?
Yep. So we work with leaders, whether they're in the corporate world or in entrepreneurial world. I kind of have a 50-50 split on that front. Okay. And we help them define their brand story so their perfect client can't wait to do business with them. Okay. So sometimes that's an entrepreneur who's launching a startup. Sometimes that's a VP at a big company, but they need to step out on their own. They want to be known for their genius on a stage, or they want to write a book. They're starting to do things above and beyond what they're doing every day in the office. Mm-hmm. And so we take people through a process to help design the brand. And then we share it out into the world to make sure that it's got legs, make any tweaks that we need to do. And then the third program that we take them through is called Ignite Your Tribe. And that's where we're taking this brand that we know that works, and we're really helping them scale.
Great.
So that's what we have been doing since 2016. That All About That brand launched, the podcast launched. It took off all on its own. Different from the original consulting company, was more of a, kind of corporate look feel. This was more entrepreneurial, more personal branding, more engaging.
Okay.
So January, February, March, fabulous. April comes. And my pipeline is ginormous, right? Because I've had these amazing 3 months. I'm speaking on these international stages. I'm doing Zoom stuff. I'm doing online stuff. I'm doing, all sorts of international stages. It's been an exciting year. April 1, I start getting phone calls from people saying, if they're my clients, they're like, I know we have stuff to do, but I need a break. Or I know we're supposed to do X, Y, and Z. Can we postpone it? Or we need, everything started to come off the rails. And by the 15th of the month, when not one new client had come in, I was like flashing back to sitting on the floor of that kitchen with the phone, wondering who I was going to call to get a job. Because, when you're a single mom and you're the one who's I didn't have family around me that could just, handle that for me. I'm the one who takes care of that. And, thankfully now, several years later, 20 some years later, I could have cashed in assets to support, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make sure that I was able, this business could function. And so I started to look at all the different projects I was kind of playing with. One of them is a studio, a TV studio, independent, that is launching a new docuseries next year called The Social Movement. And we've got teams of rockstar entrepreneurs from around the world that are going to be solving these global problems. And so I was so honored to be invited. Catherine, oh my gosh, when they invited me, I almost wasn't even sure that it was a real invitation. Like, is this spam? Is this
I'm real? Putting the trailer to The Social Movement in the chat here, so people, if they want to, they can watch that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
So what were you doing with the independent studio? Were you starting to do some branding for them, or were they just
So
network with people you knew there?
So initially, they reached out to me and asked me to invest to be on the show. So I was their customer.
Okay.
And so it was something that I was investing in for my brand to elevate it to a bigger audience, to get surrounded by these amazing entrepreneurs that were on the show, the people I engage with, Chris Lavoie, Molly Hillenbrand. I mean, just the team, they are amazing to work with. And I was having so much fun just engaging on an organic kind of social media connection on LinkedIn, just connecting with them. Mm-hmm. And I ran away from the entertainment industry, like from ever since I heard about, you know, you hear about all these things about Hollywood and this, that, and the other situation and so-and-so going to jail and this, you know, it just was too crazy for me. Like not my wheelhouse. So I had stayed away from entertainment as an industry my whole life. And these people were entrepreneurs that were leveraging cinematic docuseries format to change the world, to give back, to empower entrepreneurs with a new kind of currency, influencer currency, to elevate myself to a new level in front of my audience. And this was, they were speaking my language, right? Entrepreneurship and branding and kindness and caring about things. I mean, I just, my goodness, I mean, just to think about all the different causes that we're going to be tackling in season 2, to be part of that was just an honor. And so I called Chris Lavoie, I called the creator, and I said, hey, I've got time on my hands. You know, my clients have gone underneath rocks and I need to figure out what I'm doing. And before I wind up something new, I just thought I might have some value to you. Maybe there's something I can do to help you out. So Chris was so funny. He says, I've been waiting for your call. He said, I need some help with this partner program, and we think that you would be a great person to plug in and help design it, help grow it. And wow, I mean, this is my wheelhouse from the corporate world. It's part of what I design into marketing programs for my clients. Okay. So it was just a perfect hand in glove fit. But you know what? To play in the startup world with the studio, you have to start at the bottom. So, okay, it's COVID, so I didn't have to bring anybody coffee, but I started as an associate producer.
Well, let's hit pause for 1 second and just find the lesson in the first step, which was you started reaching out to your network, right? It was who in my network, what deals have I looked at? Don't be afraid, pick up the phone and start calling people and asking questions, right? Which is what you did. And that's like a lesson 1, you know, don't curl up in fetal position. Don't wait for somebody to come to you. Be the salesperson, reach out, network, ask questions, be open to whatever might happen. And that's what you did. So that's our lesson 1 that I'm going to put down. I'm going to make a checklist here. Okay, go.
Well, and what's interesting about that, at the time that I reached out, I didn't expect that there would be an opportunity, but I thought he probably would know somebody who would need my skills.
Okay.
And so all these people that are coming onto the show to elevate their brand, you know, that's my wheelhouse. Right? So I can help them while they get ready to be filmed next June.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was, the response was so much bigger than I expected. But here's the thing that I was blown away by. So that conversation happened toward the end of April. The contract came in. I signed the contract. Like the next day, our governments here in Texas and in, you know, greater Austin area, they opened up. So we no longer had to stay at home. We could, with a mask, go out. And I kid you not, I made my April on April 30th. On the last day of the month, it was probably a combination of the two things, right? Me reaching out, me taking action, and then this historic pipeline that had opportunity leading up to it. It just all kind of folded in together at the same time. So I was very, very grateful. Like I had it written down. You ask what things you do. I have sticky notes, right? Which is be grateful for, the wonderful surprises that happen that just, they're such gifts. It's not anything I could have designed or considered or figured out. This trailer is so spectacular, Catherine, that just sharing that with people that I connected with on social media would lead to a conversation. And so that conversation, you and I have been around the sales block.
Yes.
And so being able to have a 30-minute conversation with someone, go deep and really connect with them and assess whether they would be a great entrepreneur for this program is no small matter. And so I went from someone that they were kind of shocked because when I started doing this goofy little social media reach out thing, I started closing sponsorships. And so very quickly they promoted me to a producer, and I kept doing what I was doing, and more sponsorships came in, and eventually they said, hey, you know what? I don't know what you're doing, but we need to model it. We need to put a program around it, and we want you to run it.
And so did you know how to sell sponsorships before that? Or did they just say, here's who we think would be a good list of companies to do corporate sponsorship? And you said, okay, I buy into the purpose and the passion of the show, and I'm just going to convey that in a conversation to these sponsors and see if they're interested. I mean, was that the approach that you took, or do you have experience selling sponsorship? Because I don't. I haven't sold it other than a school sponsor or something like that. What does that look like?
A little bit. Yes, a little bit. I, in the corporate world, was able to capture large sponsorships for my corporate employers. And then with All About That Brand, we have sponsors who invest in getting onto our podcast and sponsoring me so that when I give a talk to a room full of entrepreneurs, they want their brand in front of my audience. And so, yes, I have experience. Remember, though, I had zero experience in TV, none. I didn't even know. I'm on the phone with them and they're offering me this associate producer opportunity, and I'm typing into Google, what is an associate producer? I mean, I did not know. I didn't know. And, this is an independent studio who's not driven by big checks from people who are going to tell you what to do. They purposely want to maintain their creative freedom. And so our setup for producer programs is different. It's different than anything else out there. So even if I did know something about traditional TV, I would have had to learn something completely new anyway. So it was really about being willing to reach out to try something. It just so happened that what I was doing worked right out of the gate. But then when they scheduled on my calendar, what am I going to do first? First thing I always do is you have to make a friend. I'm not going to jump into the conversation and say, oh, you watched the trailer, so what do you want to buy? No. I need to learn about them. I need to understand their story. I need to understand what they want to accomplish, like what's next for them. And then out of that, to get a sense of, are they a fit, right? Are they someone that would be great for the show? And then get them in the next part of the process. And so initially, my job was just to have a 30-minute phone call and push them to Molly. That was my job. It's just get them to the rock star
Almost
Molly.
like pre-sales, right? Pre-sales.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. So
Okay,
today,
yeah,
it's different. Today it's different. My role is the role that she took when I first started. So now I'm the person who has the longer Zoom call, takes them to that next level in preparation for investing.
Okay, so that's interesting. And so another takeaway, right, for everybody is just to jump in. To jump in and to get to do it and just to learn what it is that you're to look for that fit, right? And not try to sell something that wouldn't be a good fit. But that's sales 101. We talk about that a lot in sales. You have to build the rapport. You have to know, I'm sure you did your homework on the company. You didn't just call any company. First, you needed to find out who the company was and then look for that match to make sure that it would be a successful relationship before you sent it off to the next step. So those are just some sales 101 things that people should know.
Well, it's different selling to a company than it is selling to an individual entrepreneur. So that's what I was doing, was reaching out to my entrepreneur network. So I had good connections and I had ideas of where to find people who would be interested in these causes. Mm-hmm. And between those two things, that really gave me enough kind of pre-sales comfort, if you will.
Let me see if I can the website is this social movement, the one that I put on there, right? Let me just see if I can put that up here. Because I think I'd like for us to talk just a little bit about what we keep talking about, social movement and what you were selling, but people don't even know what it is. So maybe we should, let me just share my screen, you guys, so that you can see what it is that we're talking about. We'll add that here. Okay. So talk to us a little bit about what it even is. What are we even talking about?
So we're talking about a docuseries whereby we're hand selecting global problems that have been declared by the United Nations for a team of entrepreneurs who've never met each other. So imagine 10 people getting together for the first time, connecting with each other. They're handed a global problem. So 4 days to end cyberbullying, 4 days to end economic inequality, to end poverty, to end a pandemic, right? So we have 10 of these monster global problems. Each team is handed one of these global problems. And then in 4 days, they have to go through the journey of, agreeing on what the real problem is, the kind of business that's going to solve it, designing the business plan around it, and then on day 4, they're pitching investors. And so they have a chance to win investment, right? They have a chance to go forward from there. And every one of the teams has that opportunity to win. So it's not like they're competing against each other, team to team, but they are as a team competing to get that business plan to a funded place.
Okay. And so to even start this docuseries, the independent studio had to come up with the idea and they had to pitch it to someone, right? To get it moving. How long ago did they start this process before you came into the team?
So I came into the team in February. They filmed season 1 the fall before. And I would say that it was funded by the team. And the folks who are the partners, the entrepreneur partners, they invest, a little bit. And then they also, once the deal gets funded, the business plan they put together, when it gets funded, they get to walk away with a percentage of that and decide how they're going to move forward, either as a silent investor, as an advisor, as maybe someone who's going to run and take on the operations of that business.
That's so interesting. And so if somebody's watching this episode and they're interested in applying, they obviously can just come to this website, which I posted up here for everybody, and click on apply, right? And so there's certain criteria they have to meet, I'm sure. They have to have a big enough brand. And who does the screening of the people?
Our associate producers do the screening. So this NDA goes through a process to the right associate producer to do the research and engage with them and be able to take them through that first 30-minute call. And then from there, they sign an NDA and they get a little bit more detail on the program. And from there, they get on the phone with me. And from there, we go to the next step. It's a process. It takes something.
And so and if you can't answer this question, just let me know. But is there a certain amount of revenue that the associate producer looks for that this entrepreneur would have already generated in their business as far as success? Is there certain criteria they had to hit 500,000 or $1 million consistently? Like, are there financial criteria that they use when assessing who's going to be a good fit?
Great question. So answer no. What really is the criteria is that these are entrepreneurs who have a little time and grade. They've had ups, they've had downs, and they're super passionate about a cause. Not necessarily one of these causes, but something that they can get behind.
Okay.
And from there, they also have a business that they want to elevate and that investing in makes sense for them.
All right. There's no questions that have been coming through. I don't know where all the people are today. It's Wednesday, people. If it was Monday, I would see why you guys are being quiet. But let's see. Maybe the questions will come later. Okay, so we talked about. Give me an example of some of the problems that they're trying to solve. Do you know? Can you even say in season 2? Maybe we have to go back to season 1 because they've already been able to see that.
Well, it hasn't premiered yet, so that's coming.
Oh, it hasn't.
So when you film, it's probably 6 to 12 months before it actually gets live. So it takes some time. So we're already enrolling entrepreneurs for season 2. We're going to be filming season 2 in June, but then it won't air till the following year.
Okay.
Right? So till 2022.
So there's still some slots available for this round.
For season 2. Yep, absolutely. There are still slots. And the plan is for 10 seasons, which is awesome. We are super excited about the journey, not just, being on the event for the 4 days is really the beginning of the journey. And so depending on the entrepreneurs, how they experience that 4 days on set, some people are going to be completely enamored with the whole TV experience. They're going to want to have their own show. Maybe they want to support others on their, there's just so much opportunity. And to be an executive producer and understand that ideal partner for our series is really, that entrepreneur who has heart. Typically they're 45, typically. It doesn't mean there aren't younger. In fact, we're in partnership with the Knowledge Society. Those are teenagers who are brilliant and who jump in with these causes and contribute. We have people who are on their second, third, fourth, fifth act who are serial entrepreneurs and who are super excited to be involved. And so that opportunity is really for the right kind of entrepreneur. And some of them, if they're coming from a nonprofit, maybe they're an executive director of a nonprofit, they're just launching their new project. It's perhaps they need coaching on how to, they themselves to get the sponsorship in order to become a sponsor on the show. And so we like to help them do that too.
That all is great. And look, so who are are any of these people that are showing on the screen right now well-known entrepreneurs?
So I would say they all are. I do not know their names off the top of my head, but they are season 1 entrepreneurs. Yes.
Okay. All right.
I need to ask to give me the names. I need a poster with their names on
yes.
it. I love that.
And then you can connect with them and get to know them and find out how that filming was.
Yes, absolutely. I know a couple of the people that were on season 1, and their stories are amazing. Just being on the show, being, everybody thought that they knew everything before they got on the show, and then they met the other people on the team and they thought, oh my gosh, I'm in the wrong place. These people are so much better than I am. The thing that we go through, right?
Yes.
And
imposter syndrome, we all hit that, correct?
Yeah, now they're all fierce friends. And I love that they're very diverse teams, half women, half men, young folks, older folks, all around the world. So it's not just, a North American adventure, right? It's really opening it up to thinking from all around the world.
So how did you use LinkedIn? Because as you know, LinkedIn is my whole, my company's based around LinkedIn. How did you use LinkedIn to find this opportunity? Did you use it? And if you didn't to find this opportunity, how are you using it to engage with your network to find the sponsors?
So I am, like you, someone who's been on LinkedIn, I think within the first few thousand people. And so I have from corporate job to entrepreneurship, this is kind of my master social media platform to connect with other entrepreneurs. And I really started reaching out to people that I knew that I felt would be excited about this opportunity. Okay. And so if this is the first time in my life I've actually paid for platinum, because it allows me to actually send a message, even though I'm not yet connected to them. And so, I've really leveraged LinkedIn. I'm grateful for my connection there. Yeah.
And when you were working with your independent clients in your company, were you coaching them about using LinkedIn to build their personal brand, or what were some of the other platforms that you might have used for them so that, and in my business, we call it creating a compelling digital footprint, right? So that they're consistent on all their different platforms. But what did you coach your clients to do with social media as far as building their own personal brand?
Yeah, so most of my clients are leaders who are either in the corporate or entrepreneurial world who are selling business to business. And so most of my clients could see that LinkedIn was really where their target clients were. Mm-hmm. I would say that as time goes on, I is a senior living locator, for instance. And even though it might be, a 40 or 50-year-old who's making the decision for the parent to go into assisted living, very often the grandchild is going on to do their research and they're engaging more so on Instagram. Mm-hmm. And so this particular client of mine, he, his elder community is on Facebook, his corporate community is on LinkedIn, and the grandkids who want the best for their grandparent, they're on Instagram.
Yeah. And so that's one of, in step 3 for us, where I talk about build your target market. You've got to know where the people are, right? You have to know why you're online, and you have to know which platform it is that you're going to use to reach the target market. So would you help them with content strategy with that, or you just kind of help them know or agreed with them on which platform they needed to be on to reach their target market?
Great question. So it depends on who the client is. We always put together a marketing program for them so they can, do it themselves. They can hand it to another freelancer, or they can engage us to do it. It just depends on the client, which way they want to engage. Some people want to take it on themselves. Sometimes after a month or two of that, they come right back to us and say, don't know what we were thinking. Can you please take this on for us?
Okay. So you kind of have been a full service. If you want to take all of it on, you can. If not, you help them with a done with you type of service.
I have about 15 freelancers that I work with. I've been doing that from the very first day I started my business. Back before it was cool to have freelancers as team members. And some of them have worked with me for over 10 years.
That's nice.
We just love to work together. We choose it every time there's a new project or a new client. And so, yeah, we are full service in our lane is what I would say.
Okay. And so are you taking clients now for, you're doing your executive producing. Are you taking clients for All About That brand?
So, yes, although, I've got a team of folks who manage our online courses, and I still am doing some speaking, especially when I have the opportunity to get onto a live stage. I enjoy it, and it gives me good feedback on the conversations that I'm able to have. Mm-hmm. And traditionally, I had 12 open slots for our VIP program, and today we have only 6. So as a client graduates from the VIP program, new slots open up. So we usually have 1 or 2 open a month that we invite new people to explore. Hit me on LinkedIn, right? Or go to allaboutthatbrand.com. Love to talk about it.
And that's where I am right now. I'm showing your screen. So let's talk just before we wrap the show. What does your 7-day LinkedIn masterclass have? What would my audience learn from you in the 7-day LinkedIn masterclass?
So it is a process to go through in 15 days. Kind of like you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth. Pretty much everybody is doing that, right? To take care of your teeth. What we believe, or what I've seen especially my executive level clients who aren't as familiar with social media, maybe as everybody is, just giving them a touch point. Grab your coffee and then sit down with LinkedIn for just 15 minutes a day. And so once you sign up, you're going to get a welcome video. And then every day for 7 days, you're going to get a video and a little more information, so that each day you're knocking out, like you said, how important is it to understand your brand, how to understand your ideal client, and then understand the conversation, the content that's going to be important to that ideal client. And then how do you determine who to connect with in 15 minutes, right? And so we have a little worksheet that allows them to figure out who those people would be, and to get that on a 15-minute a day, brush your teeth, repeatable adventure.
Yeah, sometimes I forget not everybody is as obsessed about LinkedIn as I am, and maybe you are too. Like it's on all the time, right? It's the people when I speak, they do that's one of the frequent questions that they ask. Like, how long do I need to be on LinkedIn to be as successful as you are? And I'm like, okay, wait, don't compare yourself to me, because I'm freaking on LinkedIn all day long. Like, it's just there. Just because that's my jam. But in 15 minutes, the important thing is to set your strategy, right? And to understand why you're online and what you're trying to do and what the goal is that you're setting. I want to grow my LinkedIn network by 100 people. Well, do the math on that. How many outreaches can you do? What's your connection rate? So then you can calculate how long is it going to take for me to be able to reach that goal. And then you know how long it is that you need to be online. It's some math, but it's not an easy answer, right? But starting with your 7-day class or 15-day class, whatever it is.
Just 7 days.
Yeah.
Yep,
So
7 days. And
so Juan says, what information do you share each day? Well, you should kind of just said that, right? It was just about like step A, step B, right? You're trying to not make it too complicated for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, really giving a little background. So I think the first day is really why LinkedIn. So just helping people understand in 15 minutes what LinkedIn can do for what people. And then the second day is understanding what is the importance of your LinkedIn profile and talking about the components and talking about how to share your story. And then the next day is, okay, what's your brand? What is the story that you want to tell? Then who's your ideal client, and we call them storylines. So
Okay.
if you're a realtor and you're passionate about tiny homes, talking about tiny homes makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Talking about community makes a lot of sense. Talking about staycations and going to a remote tiny home for an adventure makes sense, right? These are the content components that are going to pull in your ideal client.
Yes. Yes. Engage with valuable content. Absolutely. Absolutely. So before we wrap the show, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about as far as you're all about that brand or the audition series for the docuseries? Anything that you'd like to bring up? How we just talked about how people can find you. Let me actually put your website link in the notes as well so people could see that.
Awesome. Thank
And
you.
everybody saw is, if you're on my email list, you got the announcement for the show. So you got how to get in contact with Grace. And of course, the show will be repurposed in the future. So you'll be able to revisit it. It's recorded. It's on all the platforms. But Grace, any wrap-up notes of how people can get in touch with you, anything that you're launching, how they can work with you, anything like that?
Yeah. So the one thing that I would add is that community is super important. So LinkedIn is a community. It's like going to, Cheers, right? You walk in, everybody says, hey, you're here, right? LinkedIn is a little bit like that. And if you are kind to someone on LinkedIn, if you're involved in a group where everybody is interested in, say, your alma mater, or there's a very vibrant Elon Musk group, if there is something that you're passionate about, don't be afraid to get involved in the group aspect because, as an eWoman Network member, for instance, when I need a particular kind of service, I often go there first and say, hey, does anybody know anybody who could do this thing? Mm-hmm. And next thing I know, I get 3 or 4 recommendations from people that I kind of know, right? That I have some confidence in. So It's not about having to do it all on your own. It's the punchline, right? Get connected with groups, and whether it's on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever your group action is, just make friends.
Wherever your jam is, and I have people. I'm sure you do too. I have different female entrepreneur groups that I hang out with on Facebook. And then on LinkedIn, I have various professionals from around the U.S. or around the world that we are in groups through direct messaging where we can ask each other questions. Like, hey, I just saw that post you did really performed well. Like, what was the thought behind that post? And what did you do? And how are you doing your content strategy? And so there's so much wealth. There's a wealth of knowledge out there, and you can use LinkedIn. You can use Facebook to your advantage and actually learn something daily, right? From these platforms, and use it as a community. I love the thought and that saying that you have. So we have somebody who's spamming us a little bit here. They say, want to become famous? Why don't you buy some followers? Well, we're really into authentic followers today.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, Grace. Well, thank you so much for being on The Art of Inspired Selling. I appreciate this dialogue, and I really wanted to bring you on just so that people saw what it was like to have some ups and downs as an entrepreneur, so we could share your journey. I really wanted to introduce your docuseries too, because there could be somebody that watches this that's interested. There could be some people interested in that corporate sponsorship, so now they know how to reach you and how to get involved. And I'm excited for the launch of that. Do we have the date yet for the Series 1 when it's going to hit?
It's going to be, I I would say spring, summer next year. So the date isn't in stone, is what I would say. COVID's been an adventure.
Well, when it's launching, I'll be on your page and I'll share it with everybody so that everybody can see all the great things. So you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Art of Inspired Selling. I invite you to, just in case you haven't noticed, a little plug for us. CatherineEvans.net. We have a new website up. We have a brand new quiz up. I invite you guys to take our LinkedIn quiz. It's really going to be fun. Give me your feedback, see if it provides any value to you. And then at the end, I invite you to get on a call with me for a 15-minute call. So I appreciate that if you guys give me some feedback. So thank you so much, Grace. If you'll stay on the show, we'll wrap it up. You guys, we'll have another great show this week. Sign up for the email list so that you see who all the guests are that are coming up, and have a great rest of the week if you don't tune in on Friday.
Thanks, Catherine.